Most parents are watching for the wrong signs. They're looking for dramatic meltdowns, explosive tantrums, or obvious distress. But anxious attachment doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it looks like a child who needs you just a little too much. A child who can't explore a new place without checking back constantly. A child who falls apart when you leave the room, even for a moment. A child who seems to need reassurance the way other children need air. And here's what makes this so difficult. These patterns don't look like attachment problems to most parents. They look like a sensitive child, a clingy phase, a kid who just really loves their mom. So parents wait for the child to grow out of it. And for some children, they do. But for many, the pattern deepens. It solidifies into an identity, and that identity follows them into adulthood, shaping every relationship they will ever have. Because here's what anxious attachment actually is. It isn't just clinginess. It isn't just separation anxiety. It is a nervous system that learned, through thousands of small repeated experiences, that love is unpredictable, that closeness might disappear, that the only way to stay safe is to hold on tighter, need more, worry harder. And the terrifying part is that this lesson was never taught on purpose. It was absorbed, quietly, over years, from the ordinary moments of parenting that nobody warned you about. And in this video, we're going to talk about the 7 signs that your child may have developed an anxious attachment style, and exactly what you can do right now to begin shifting those patterns before they harden into the blueprint for your child's future relationships. Number 1, they can't seem to let you out of their sight. Every child goes through phases of separation anxiety. This is completely normal and actually a sign of healthy attachment in infancy. The fear of losing a caregiver is what's supposed to happen when the attachment system is working. But there's a difference between a toddler who protests briefly when you leave and then recovers, and a child who cannot function when you're not physically visible. The child with anxious attachment doesn't protest and recover. They escalate. They follow you from room to room. They position themselves so that the moment you move, they know. They check on your location constantly, even in familiar, safe environments. And when you do leave, even briefly, the distress isn't proportional to the actual danger. It's as if every separation carries the possibility of permanent loss. Here's what's happening in their nervous system. Their brain has learned that your presence is unpredictable, not because you're absent, but because the pattern of your emotional availability has been inconsistent enough that their system never learned it could fully trust you'll return. Not physically return, emotionally return. The child who can't let you out of sight has a nervous system that is always scanning, always monitoring, always asking the question, are you still here? Are you still with me? Are you still safe? Think of it like working for a boss who sometimes praises you, sometimes ignores you, and sometimes criticizes you for the exact same behavior with no predictable pattern. You'd stop trusting your read of the situation. You'd start watching for cues obsessively. You'd become hypervigilant just to stay safe. That's what your child's nervous system is doing every single day. So here's what I want you to start doing. When you need to leave your child, even for a moment, even to walk to another room, narrate it calmly, every time, without exception. I'm going to the kitchen. I'll be right back. Then come back. Do this hundreds of times. What you're building is a pattern. A predictable, reliable pattern that their nervous system can finally learn. You leave. You come back. You leave. You come back. Over time, their brain stops screaming because it finally has evidence it can trust. Predictability is the antidote to hypervigilance. Number 2, they need constant reassurance, and it never seems to be enough. You tell your child you love them. They ask again 20 minutes later. You tell them they did a great job. They want to know again. Did you really mean it? Are you sure? You reassure them they're not in trouble. They circle back to it for the rest of the afternoon. The reassurance seeking seems bottomless. No matter how much you give, it doesn't seem to land or hold. This is one of the most exhausting and confusing signs of anxious attachment for parents, because reassurance should work. Telling your child they are loved and safe should be enough. The fact that it isn't can make parents feel like they're failing, or like their child is being manipulative, or simply impossible to satisfy. But here's what's actually happening. Reassurance seeking isn't a manipulation tactic. It's a symptom of a nervous system that doesn't have a secure internal working model. A securely attached child has internalized the belief I am loved, I am safe. I am wanted. Because they've had enough consistent, reliable, emotionally attuned experiences to build that belief from the inside. The anxiously attached child hasn't. So they go looking for it externally, over and over, because they can't find it inside themselves. It's like trying to fill a cup that has a hole in the bottom. You pour in reassurance, and it drains out before it can be stored. The problem isn't the amount of reassurance being poured in. The problem is that the cup itself hasn't been sealed yet. That sealing happens through consistency, through attuned presence, through emotional co-regulation, not through repeated verbal statements. So from now on, when your child seeks reassurance, resist the urge to simply repeat the same words louder or more firmly. Instead, respond to the emotion underneath the request. You're really needing to know that we're okay right now, aren't you? Come here. Bring them close. Offer physical warmth. Sit with them in it for a moment. Then gently, later, help them start to locate safety inside themselves. Where do you feel it in your body when you know mommy loves you? Let's find that feeling. You're not filling the cup from outside. You're teaching them to feel it from within. Number 3, they struggle to explore without you as their anchor. Watch a securely attached child in an unfamiliar setting. They'll stay close to their parent initially, check in visually, maybe return for a quick reassurance, and then they gradually move out. They explore. They get absorbed in something. They forget briefly to monitor their parent. This is the secure base in action. The anxiously attached child doesn't do this. They orbit without ever really launching. They stay physically close, checking back too frequently to truly get absorbed in anything. They hold back from new toys, new children, new environments, not because they aren't curious, but because the cost of moving away from their safe person feels too high. Their curiosity exists, but their nervous system won't release them to follow it. What's happening is a fundamental conflict between two biological drives, the drive to explore the world and the drive to maintain proximity to a safe attachment figure. In secure attachment, these two drives work together. The child explores because they trust the base is safe and will be there when they return. In anxious attachment, the attachment drive wins every time because the base has never felt fully reliable. Exploration feels dangerous because moving away might mean losing the connection. Think of it like a dog on a leash that's just long enough. The dog can move, technically, but the leash is always pulling. The anxiously attached child is always aware of that leash, always feeling its limit, never fully free to run. What you need to build is confidence in the base. Before you encourage your child to explore, make sure the base you feels solid. Make deliberate reconnection a part of your routine. When they come back to check in, meet them fully. Put down what you're doing. Make eye contact. Offer warmth. Then release them back toward the world. Go see what's over there. I'll be right here. Every successful cycle of leaving and returning to a warm, available base teaches their nervous system that exploring is safe. Number 4, they become easily overwhelmed and difficult to calm. Small frustrations feel catastrophic. A broken cracker, a wrong shirt, a friend who didn't wave back. These are not events that warrant a full emotional collapse, and yet that's exactly what happens. The anxiously attached child doesn't have a graduated emotional response scale. Every disruption to their sense of safety triggers the full alarm system. And what makes this so hard is that once they're in that state, they're almost impossible to reach. Comfort doesn't land. Logic doesn't land. Even physical closeness sometimes escalates rather than calms. Parents try everything: holding, talking, ignoring, distracting, and nothing seems to work consistently. Here's why. Their nervous system is not overreacting to the broken cracker. The broken cracker is just the trigger. What's actually been activated is the deep, older fear that things are unpredictable, that safety could disappear, that they can't trust the world to hold steady. That fear lives in the body, not the thinking brain. And when it's been activated, words cannot reach it. Logic is the wrong tool entirely. It's like trying to reason with a smoke alarm. The alarm isn't being dramatic. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do when it detects what it's been trained to detect. You don't argue with the alarm. You address what triggered it. So, when your child is dysregulated, your only job in that moment is to be a regulated, calm, present body next to their unregulated one. Don't try to explain. Don't negotiate. Don't tell them it's not a big deal. Get low. Get close if they allow it. Breathe slowly and audibly. Hum if it helps. Your nervous system is co-regulating theirs. This is how the alarm gets turned off. And the more times they experience this big feeling, parent shows up, calm, feeling passes, the more their nervous system learns that big feelings are survivable. That is how the threshold for overwhelm gradually rises. Number 5, they seem to need you most right after you've been present. This one is counterintuitive and confusing for many parents. You've spent the whole morning with your child. You've been present, warm, engaged, connected. And then you need to take a phone call, or step into another room, or simply shift your attention for 10 minutes and they fall apart harder than if you'd been gone all day. Parents often interpret this as proof that nothing they do is enough, or that their child is deliberately pushing their buttons. But what's actually happening reveals something important about how anxious attachment functions. The anxiously attached child doesn't have a stable internal reservoir of connection that gets filled and then sustains them. Instead, they operate more like a system that's activated by proximity. While you're present, they're regulated, but they haven't built the internal architecture to hold that regulation when you're gone. Your presence is doing all the regulatory work, and the moment you leave, the system that was being held together by your presence simply collapses. Imagine being carried the whole time you're hiking, then suddenly expected to walk on your own. Not because you're lazy, because your legs never had to build strength. That's what's happening emotionally for this child. Your consistent presence has been doing the work their internal system hasn't yet learned to do. The shift you need to make is to begin, gradually, teaching them to hold the connection internally even during brief separations. Before you step away, do a brief transition ritual. A squeeze, a specific phrase, something that becomes a bridge. I'm always loving you even when you can't see me. Then be predictably, reliably back when you said you would. And when you return, reconnect fully before resuming anything else. You're building the internalization of connection, the inner reservoir that will eventually hold them even when you're not there. Number 6, they use behavior to pull you back when they feel disconnected. The anxiously attached child has learned, usually without anyone realizing it, that certain behaviors reliably bring you closer. Not through conscious manipulation, but through thousands of small learned associations. When I escalate, my parent comes. When I'm difficult, I get attention. When I act out, the distance closes. So they escalate, they act out. They manufacture conflict, sometimes, because conflict brings you in. They'd rather have negative attention than no attention, because no attention, for an anxiously attached child, registers in the nervous system as abandonment. Distance, any distance, activates their threat system, and behavior is the most reliable tool they have for closing that distance. What makes this heartbreaking is that parents usually respond to the behavior rather than the need underneath it. The child acts out, the parent responds with frustration or discipline, the child escalates, the parent increases their response. And the actual need, reconnection, closeness, reassurance of the relationship never gets addressed. It's like a child waving from across a crowded room, and everyone around them keeps shushing them instead of simply waving back. The change you need to make is to become a student of your child's behavior patterns. When do they escalate? What usually precedes it? How long has it been since you had genuine, attuned connection? Start front-loading connection before the behavior appears. Scheduled special time, even 10 focused minutes each day of pure, child-led, distraction-free attention has been shown to dramatically reduce attention-seeking behavior, because the child's need for connection is being met before it becomes desperate. You're answering the wave before they have to shout. Number 7, they find it difficult to believe good things will last. This is the sign that most clearly reveals the internal world of the anxiously attached child. When something good happens, a great day, a special event, a moment of happiness, they seem unable to fully relax into it. They worry about when it will end. They become clingy or whiny during what should be the best parts. They anticipate the withdrawal of good things before it happens. They've learned through experience that good things are not reliable, that closeness can disappear, that happiness has a ceiling, and beyond that ceiling, the floor tends to drop out. So They manage their own experience, dampening the joy before it can be taken, staying alert so they're never caught off guard by loss. This is the long-term signature of inconsistent emotional availability, not neglect, not cruelty. Simply an environment where warmth and closeness came and went, unpredictably enough that the child's brain stopped trusting good moments to hold. Think about what it would feel like to live inside that experience, to have a wonderful morning with someone you love, and to spend the whole time waiting for it to end, to be happy, and to feel fear underneath the happiness because you know from experience that it doesn't last. That is the emotional landscape of the anxiously attached child, and it is exhausting. It is lonely, and it is completely invisible to the people around them. The antidote is deliberate, repetitive, reliable positivity. End each day with a brief ritual of connection, reviewing the good moments of the day together. What was your favorite part of today? Mine was when we. You are teaching their nervous system that good things happen regularly, and that you are a source of that goodness, with a pattern they can predict. Over time, the anticipation of loss begins to be replaced by the expectation of return. And that shift, small as it seems, is the beginning of what secure attachment feels like. If you recognized your child in any of these signs, the most important thing to understand is this: anxious attachment is not a character flaw. It is not a sentence. It is a learned pattern, and what has been learned can be unlearned, not quickly, not with a single conversation, but through the slow, patient accumulation of new experiences. Experiences that teach a different lesson than the one that was absorbed. You showing up for this video means you're already doing the most important part. You're noticing. And noticing is always where healing begins.